Hi, I'm Jenny Brown and welcome to this, our final episode of MFB News for 2023 because I'm not working next week, so I'm not going to be doing a video, and I'm sure you guys are going to be far too busy eating copious amounts of mince pies and that kind of stuff to be watching one anyway. And my God, what a year it's been. I don't know about you, but I'm going to be really glad to see the back of 2023. It's not been great on many levels, so let's hope that 2024 is much kinder to all of us. Now, in terms of what we've got for you this week, and talking in terms of things getting kinder, we're going to be talking about interest rates, what's been happening with swap rates and lender pricing. We're then going to be running through the latest tenant demand report and rental income analysis report that's been released by the Mortgage Works. Always makes really, really interesting reading. And then finally, we're going to wrap up this year with our question of the week, which is where we're going to be answering the question, what is a Hashmi condition? And good news is I didn't know the answer to that until a couple of weeks ago either. So we're all learning together on this one. So lots of good content for you this week. Okay, so first of all, just having a quick look at what's been going on with swap rates. And for those of you who watch this video regularly, you'll know that all I wanted for Christmas was not my two front teeth, but for 5-year swap rates to go below 4%. And actually, the fantastic news is they have done that. So as of today, so it's Tuesday at 1:10 in the afternoon, 5-year swaps are at 3.937%. Now they've actually been under 4% for quite a few days now. They keep kind of ticking just below and just over, so bubbling around the 4% mark, but we got below 4% by the end of the year, guys, so we've done incredibly well. 1 month ago, just for your reference, 5-year swaps were at 4.274%. In terms of 2-year swap rates, 4.520, 1 month ago, 4.708. Now, don't forget, I know it's very easy to get caught up in Christmas, and obviously it's a very, very welcome distraction from all the doom and gloom news that we've been very used to hearing this year. But there is a Bank of England meeting coming up. Now, the expectation is that there will not be an increase in base rate, nor will there be a decrease in base rate either. There's been some statistics that came out today. Unemployment has stayed the same. And wage growth is continuing to slow, which is really good. That will give the guys at the MPC some reassurance that the measures they put in place by increasing base rate is really starting to take effect. So actually, we're really thinking that the expectation for base rate is no change. And actually, not no change just for next month, but actually for at least the first half of 2024 as well. Now, in terms of lender pricing, definitely a slower week, as I think lenders really start kind of quietening things down for the end of the year. I had an interesting conversation with a lender actually, and I was saying, oh, you know, with swap rates going down again, surely you're going to bring out some new rates. So, well, actually, Jenny, this is a bit of a challenge for us because we don't want to bring out rates that are too keen, because actually lots of people take time off over Christmas, and so what we don't want is a whole wave of applications to come in and us not be able to cope with them because we're on reduced staff numbers. So I think a lot of lenders are probably just kind of just going to keep things the same for the rest of the year now, and then review things when they come back in January. However, there have been a couple of changes. And the first one, and the one that I'm probably the most excited to share with you, in fact, I'm going to go with the most excited I've been able to share with you for the whole year, is that Paragon have released some absolutely belting rates actually. And the one which really caught my eye, and the one which we're seeing huge amounts of interest on already, it's only been out for a couple of days, is a new exclusive product, or say semi-exclusive really. So this is where only certain brokers can access these products. We're one of them, and they're very, very good. So at 70% loan to value, 5-year fixed rates from 5.8%, no arrangement fee, no application fee, and free valuation. So really, really stunning rates there. And these are available to individuals and limited companies as well. They have brought out some also sort of comparable rates on HMOs and multi-units. And don't forget, the Paragon can lend on HMOs of up to 20 rooms, multi-units of up to 20 self-contained units. Their pricing is absolutely astonishing at the moment. So thank you to Paragon. For those of you who are interested in these products, just to say, so individuals and SPV companies, we can't accept any kind of trading business within the company activities. They can accept load companies, so a company owned by people. We come across this more often than you think. I don't mind how many buy-to-lets you've got in the background, but the key is that at least one of the people who are giving the personal guarantee, and that would be directors and shareholders, must be earning at least £25,000 a year. But really, really fantastic set of new rates out from Paragon. So a fantastic way to end the year from those guys. Now, sadly, any other lenders' rates that I'm going to talk about are going to sound a bit kind of damp by comparison, but still very good news that Foundation Home Loans have released some special festive fixed rates, which are available as of now. So 5-year fixed rates for portfolio landlords, pricing here from 5.24%, but they have got some fairly lumpy arrangement fees. We've seen the mortgage works make reductions to their product set of up to 0.2%, and this is applied to sort of smaller landlords, less than 10 properties, limited companies, HMOs, large portfolios, that's 10 or more as well, further advances as well. So they've actually just basically made reductions across their whole of their product portfolio of up to 20 basis points. We've seen Bank of Ireland make reductions of up to 0.5%. Bank of Ireland, very, very vanilla lender. So they don't like people with large portfolios, individual names, nothing racy in terms of the properties. And we've seen Keystone make reductions of up to 0.1% across their range as well. And this is both on their standard rates and also their specialist product set. So standard rates are now from 5.04, specialist rates are from 5.34%. And then finally, we've seen Santander reduce their 2 and 5 year fixed rates by up to 0.18%. Santander, as you'd imagine, very, very sort of standard lender, no limited companies, no HMOs, no multi-units, but actually, they're quite solid in terms of accepting up to 10 buy-to-let properties in the background, no minimum income requirement, the kind of stuff you expect from those more standard lenders. So actually, you know what, guys, not huge amounts of changes, but actually some really positive changes for us to end the year on. Now, for those of you who are trying to sort of find your way through the quagmire of arrangement fees and interest rates at the moment, and I appreciate it is actually very, very difficult. The mortgage works, it felt quite apt when they made an announcement they're changing their criteria. So what they've done is now said that to align with policy, where affordable, arrangement fees may now be added to the loan in addition to the product maximum loan to value. So if the product maximum loan to value is 75% and the arrangement fee is 3% of the loan amount, then essentially you can add that on. So the maximum loan all in, including the arrangement fee, is not 75, it's 75 plus the arrangement fee. However, the other thing just to bear in mind is that the affordability calculation, the rental calculation, needs to cover the overall debt, including the arrangement fee. Now, this is quite a complicated one, and we're coming, I don't want to say unstuck on this quite a lot, but we are finding there's a lot of confusion in the market because most lenders now are saying that they will add the arrangement fee above the maximum loan to value on the product as per the mortgage works. But what the lenders are saying is actually the rental calculation defines how much the overall lending can be, including any arrangement fee. Now, when you've got an arrangement fee of £995, it doesn't really make a huge amount of difference. But when we're looking at those products with the 7% fees, actually it can be quite impactful in terms of how much you net as the loan amount, the amount that sort of comes to you. So actually, I suppose really, there are a couple of lenders, well, there's a handful of lenders. We've been doing quite a lot of research into this to try and understand exactly where lenders sit. What I would say is the vast majority of lenders do include the arrangement fee in the overall rental calculation, but there are a couple who say it's maximum of this as per the rental calculation and you can add the arrangement fee on top. So I think realistically, because it is quite complicated at the moment and there's so many kind of calculations and variations, the best thing you can do is if you are trying to particularly get the maximum amount of borrowing that you possibly can against a property, just give us a call and we can do the maths for you. It's not something I can ever really explain on a video because it is so convoluted and it would bore you to tears. But if you do want to have a look at kind of the maximum borrowing capacity on your particular buy-to-let property, just give us a call and we'll do the maths. Okay, now the Mortgage Works has released its latest tenant demand report, which covers Q3 in 2023. And I think if you're a landlord, it makes really positive reading, probably not so much if you're a tenant. So the first thing they're reporting is that the number of landlords who are saying that tenant demand has either grown significantly or slightly is now at 71%. So actually the vast majority of landlords are still witnessing an increase in tenant demand in their letting area. Encouragingly, the number of landlords gaining profit from their rental activities has also increased versus Q2 in 2023. So that's also really positive, and that can only be attributed, I'm sure, to the increase in rents that we're continuing to see. Now, as part of this report, the Mortgage Works produced something called the Tenant Demand Index, which kind of breaks down by region the strength of tenant demand. Now, the UK average score in the previous quarter, in Q3, has reached a new record high, and this is the third consecutive quarter of reaching a new record high, so things continue to improve. And the points that they've given, the score that the index now achieves is 68 points. What they say is the majority of regions achieve a score above this, with the exceptions being the North East, Yorkshire and the Humber, and the East of England. Now, the report tells us that 8 regions have also seen an increase in their score this quarter, most notably the West Midlands, which has increased by 18 points. Only one region, that's the East of England, saw a decrease in its TDI score this quarter. Both Outer London and Wales remained consistent on their points. The West Midlands is a really interesting one. So they've moved up the ranks substantially from being the lowest scoring region in Q2 to now surpassing Outer London as the highest scoring region in Q3. What's been going on there? The East of England generates the lowest tenant demand index score this quarter at just 60 points. So I think really this just kind of underpins what we already know, that there is still continues to be a shortage of buy-to-let properties in the private rental sector, and therefore demand is still very much outstripping supply, continuing to put pressure on the private rental sector. Now, the Mortgage Works have also released their rental income analysis for Q3 2023, and this is actually really fascinating reading. So the first thing to take away from this report is telling us that the annual rental income generated per property has increased in Q3, up approximately £567 on Q2. The proportion of landlords increasing rents in their own portfolio, both in the last year and looking ahead in the next 6 months, continues to increase, up by 5% and 3% respectively. Now, moving on to trends. So first of all, just talking about rental income by region. So Central London has made a notable recovery in the most recent quarter, increasing back up to Q1 levels by £21,000 versus Q2 and maintaining its position as the highest regional average. Outer London also sees a significant uplift in this quarter of £19,000 versus Q2, now following behind Central London in second place. Currently, 5 regions fall below the national average, with Wales continuing to achieve the lowest gross rental income for Q3 at £58,000. The disparity between the highest and lowest scoring regions, that's Central London and Wales, has considerably widened from £30,000 in Q2 to £55,000 in Q3. So huge amounts of changes going on there, and that's just really exacerbated, as we've seen, by the amount that rents have increased in the more recent months. Now, moving on to rental trends and intentions. So this is where they're asking landlords about what they feel is going on with rents, essentially. So 70% of landlords have replied that the rents are rising in their own portfolio in the last 12 months. They've experienced rents increasing within their own portfolio. Probably as interestingly, actually, landlords expect rents in their own portfolio in the next 6 months, the coming 6 months, 54% of them are expecting them to increase. People are still seeing and predicting rents to carry on increasing going forwards. Now, one of the things that I think people find most interesting is the average yield per property type. So according to this report, if you have an HMO, the average yield is now at 6.3%. A block of flats is at 6%, a bungalow 5.7%, a semi-detached house 5.5% yield, terrace house 5.4%, detached house 5.3%, and individual units of flats 5.2%. Average yields by region. The East Midlands 6.5%, Yorkshire and Humber 5.9%, the North East 5.8%, the West Midlands average yield 5.6%, Wales 5.3%, the East of England also at 5.3%, the South West 5.2%, North West 5.1%, South East 5%, London Outer 4.6%, and London Central 4.1%. That's despite those really big rent increases that we've seen. So if you are thinking about investing in a property next year, or indeed if you're thinking about increasing your rents as well, that should be really quite useful for you. If you would like a copy of that report, you can just email in and we'll send that over, so you've got that to have a good old trawl through at your leisure. So moving on to your question of the week, and this is actually kind of a question from me. So I am currently in the process of remortgaging both my buy-to-let properties. I mean, the timing could have been better, I guess. But actually the one that's owned in a limited company, I'd sent all the paperwork off to my solicitor to get everything kind of tied up. And they wrote back to me with a kind of paragraph that threw me into a massive meltdown, essentially. So just to give you some backstory on this, so this property is not the one with the tenants from hell, this is a different one. It's owned in a limited company. The company, the director is me, and the shareholding is just me. So I am the only person involved in this company. So the paragraph said that we are required to ensure that where you're executing the lender's security paperwork as one or multiple directors, that your company's articles of association permit you to do so as such. We note the company has incorporated model articles, which means there is a requirement for a minimum of 2 directors to be appointed in order to make decisions for the company, i.e. to enter into the lender's security paperwork. Please therefore provide us with an amended Articles of Association which will permit the company to enter into borrowing following the resolution of one director, together with a special resolution passing the amendments. And then it just went on with some more kind of legal jargon. So this is something really interesting. And actually, now I think about it, we did talk about this a really long time ago. But this is something called a Hashmi condition. So many people who set up companies, when I set mine up sort of 7 years ago, we would have just gone onto Companies House and set something up using the kind of standard sort of paperwork and articles that are kind of available. And what it's now transpired, and since this all kind of kicked off with limited company lending, is there's this thing called the Hashmi condition, which essentially means that actually you need 2 directors on a company to be able to do this, or you need to change the articles to make sure that it reflects the fact that you've only got 1 director who's making decisions for the company. So in terms of kind of how big a problem this is, so I emailed a very, very good legal contact of mine saying, you know, help, what do I do here? And they came back saying, well, first of all, don't worry, this is very standard. It's probably affecting 1 in 3 mortgages they're transacting at the moment. That's how many people use these standard articles when they set their companies up. So it's very, very common. So what I've had to do is change the articles of the Articles of Association in the company. I had to have a board meeting, which was a pretty boring meeting because it was just me in it, and sign off to say that the company has now changed things. And by doing this and then submitting it to Companies House and then acknowledging that I've changed the my Articles of Association, this means that the company can continue doing the remortgage with just me as the company director. The other option would have been for me to add a new director onto the company. I wasn't prepared to do that because that would have meant restarting the mortgage application, because at the moment I have a mortgage offer where I've given the personal guarantee. By bringing another director, it would mean starting a new application because we'd have to give a second person as part of the application. That simply wasn't an option because considering I have to complete on the 31st December, so I have left this rather late. So that is a Hashmi condition, everybody, just so you know, and if you come across it. But if I think the message really actually and more seriously is this: if you've got a limited company, and I think this really sort of became a thing maybe 2 or 3 years ago. So if you set up a limited company more historically than that, and you've only got 1 director and 1 shareholder, it's worth knowing about this and maybe just getting your Articles of Association tidied up, because actually you don't want to find yourself in the position where I'm in, where you're at the 11th hour and you're trying to get everything sorted out before Christmas when everyone's closed, and you're trying to find a really good solicitor who's able to kind of facilitate this for you. If you do want to have copies of the forms that I've had to sign, and I'm not saying these are the ones that you should be using by any stretch of the imagination, but if you just want to see what's contained within this, you can kind of get a flavour of what you might need to be doing. Again, you can just email me and I'm very happy to share with you what I've had to send over to Companies House. And that is me signing off for 2023. Thank you so much, not just for taking the time to watch this video. I know lots of you that watch this watch it regularly. So for all the time that you've invested over the last year in seeing what we have to say, I hope it's been useful. And as always, if you did kind of think, actually, I wish Jenny would change something, you know, by all means, let us know. We're very, very open to trying to curating a video that's really useful to you. Also, in good news, we are open between Christmas and New Year, and I am one of the people that are working. So if you do actually have a question, A, good news, we're open, and B, good news or not, depending on how you view it, you might actually even speak to me when you phone us up. But really just to say, have a really wonderful Christmas, a very happy New Year to you, and we go again in 2024. Until then, look after yourselves.